What's up, Polar fam? This is our weekly community AMA here at Polar on this beautiful August the 17th, 2022. This myself is Shiv Bear. Then I also have Julian over here joining me up on the AMA
Hi.
channel here. How's it going, man? So
No,
this
everything's great.
Good, good, good. Yep, so this is just our outlet to reach out to you guys on a weekly basis, give you any means that you can to ask questions that you might have. So at any point in time, please feel free to request to speak live and we will bring you up on the stage. But if not, please go to the AMA Questions Weekly channel that we put out there in the community announcement. It's in our Discord and we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have today. So to go over just a couple of the updates here, let's see, lottery went live last week, which was pretty nice. We went over that a lot of that in the AMA. I know it maybe hasn't been functioning exactly as everybody thought so, but Enor got in the chat today, and we're going to work on it and adjust it just a little bit there. So no worries on that end. We'll keep working all of that on our side. The next things, let's see here. Really hasn't been any too much finite information that has come out in the last week here. I know that we are still getting closer towards 3.5. Enor has a call with Josh today, so to try to get some harder information as far as Enor is aware of, he expects it to be at the end of this week is a 3.5 update, but that's not official just yet. I know we're all kind of tired of the phone kind of memes, but that's where we are now. But this is what we are currently working with is the information provided to us. Enor would like to have that out by the end of this week. That 3.5 is going to bring some significant updates. I'll start releasing those as we get a finite date to that there, because there's going to be some pretty big changes that will also help us with the various sustainability things there. So that'll be a good update there, a good jump. I know many people are sentiments a little bit low in the chats, and I've definitely noticed that the last couple of months, but mostly in the last couple of weeks here, it's been a little bit low. So Enor was in the chat today, had a good little conversation. Please, if you guys have any curiosities there, go back and read those from today to search Enor's name up in the search bar. He went over just a few things, some stuff that we're considering. Enor and I had a conversation for about 30 minutes this morning on different sustainability and investment strategies for the protocol itself that will directly benefit the node aspect of things here. So we're working through all that. Him and I are both vetting a couple different options right now. The Ego bot, I'm kind of upselling that to him a little bit because I do actually know the team. So it's not like some random trading bot where, we don't know what they are. I know exactly what this team is and who they are, and I can fly to their house right now. I take a minute to get there because I'm in Texas and Marquise is in the Northeast, kind of closer to where I'm from, and Narek's over in California. But nevertheless, I know these people as people. So it's kind of comforting to be able to invest into something where, there's big returns and it gets a little nerve wracking. Like, hey, is this sustainable? Well, it's a trading bot. It's not Ponzi economic based with theirs. Some are, though. So we got to keep on the lookout for their end, work through some different strategies, kind of get all that moving forward. But we have a lot of vetting on our end to do, and hopefully we'll have some of those going live here sooner rather than later, because the longer we wait, the further into the hole that we go. So we got to get our stuff ready to go and get the investments working. Would have been great to get them a little bit ago, but we haven't, right? So can't really cry over spilled milk. We got to keep working here and get going on the next aspects of this. So trying to think off the top of my head, I don't think there's anything official that I'm able to release just yet, except for that hopefully we have some 3.5 progress update later today. And if we get that, we will put it out there in an announcement as well, so that we will see that, so that everyone can read over that there. Should be a lot of good changes. So I do look forward to seeing that. I know people are stressing. It's not good. People are, quite frankly, they're probably about to jump in and FUD a little bit more once we pass a certain price, mental barrier there. But nevertheless, we keep working. We have to keep building. I'm always available to you guys to kind of talk through those different aspects there. So I haven't really looked into her yet, but of course, please use that AMA Questions Weekly channel to ask your questions. Request to speak at any point in time, and I'll bring you up here live to talk on stage. And we are more than happy to answer anything that might be on your mind, or just chat with you just in general if you'd like. So, do we have anything on that AMA Questions Weekly channel?
So there actually are quite a few questions in there. I'll just start with the first one from MeatSauce74. Is there a video or tutorial on fixing the ERC error? I see there's a post about what to do, but just confused. Would love a video on this.
Yeah, okay, so that'll be something good for me to go into. There's been RPC issues going on right now with our DApp. So if you are having those issues, you have to go onto check out the technical announcement. We'll see if we can put together just a quick video run through to show people how to do that there. But there is a step-by-step there that'll help resolve that. We also have an issue with Trust Wallet. So if you are using Trust Wallet currently, it is going to be updated with the new DApp. Josh has already confirmed as such. But that being said, in the meantime, if you want to get on your device, you just can import your Trust Wallet into MetaMask and you'll be able to access it all there. So we'll see if we can get some of that put into a video so that we can all utilize the DApp accordingly.
Perfect. The next question from Corey G. Stella. How interactive is V4? Will there be animations when you add your life potions? Will you see the nodes deterioration? Any cool features you can get us excited for?
Yes, that's a great question there, Corey. I honestly don't know yet. I've seen some updates for how the Unity side is going to be developed. I'm kind of letting them work on that, and then I get updates occasionally. I haven't seen anything in reference to the direct animations or deterioration animations or anything like that, but that would be great to integrate. Let's see. I see Aizler is in our audience here as well, so if he does have anything, he could tap in some information there. But I don't think it's quite there yet. He's kind of on the Polaris side anyway, and that's going to be a little bit down the lines there. This is more on the Node side. So we will give you that information as it comes, but I don't think that information it's definitely not known by me just yet anyway.
All right. The next question again from Corey G. Stella. Will the 3.5 clear up the DEX from looking like small cells every time a node is created?
Yeah, so that's another great question there. Clear up the DEX screener side. Okay. Yes, actually, it will, because if we are using it in stables, we're just trying to think logically here. It would not have to sell Polar to move elsewhere. So in that case, there wouldn't be the little cells to facilitate like the LP exchange and stuff like that. There'd be a little buy. So that might change the optics a little bit. I don't expect it to change the actual, just how that contract interacts. Is not really going to change the larger picture, but it will definitely change the optics, and you won't see those like little paper cuts on DEX Screener as much.
All right. The next question is from Hagi619. Will money generated from Ego be used to buy a token and burn it?
I do hope so. So that's a strategy that I would definitely recommend up. But there are plenty of ways to look at it. That's the one that I would do is have a buyback and burn mechanism, work it in conjunction with the life potions, so that you have a couple different layers fighting that inflationary component that we've seen recently. I think we're going to get into a very good opportunity to facilitate that kind of strategy once 3.5 goes live. So I'll be in Enor's ear about that a little bit. I think that's a better way to do it than just have the revenue. The revenue side can come later on. That's fine. We're not locking up our money. It's not like a sunk cost theory. None of that there. So I would rather use the earlier returns to start increasing the pace and get us back closer to a more stable token mint, and then utilize that from there to facilitate additional revenue later on.
All right, thank you. The next question from Andre. Hope that's how I pronounce it. What will be done to reduce the sell-offs of rewards? I know this was discussed in various times, but but we that bought the top are just moving further and further away from RI or any profits at the moment. We really need a time frame for 3.5 or V4.
So what will be done to reduce the sell-offs of rewards? So there's a couple different ways to do it, right? So I've talked about this many times, like you said, the basic supply and demand variables. We have too much supply via accumulated rewards and not enough demand to offset what's being sold on the excess, right? So that's a very legitimate and major concern, and that's going to continue to be a concern until a couple of different things could happen. One of which would be reducing the emissions rate, and another of which would be increasing the demand. Well, we're not going to increase demand when the token price is going down. That's just not how it works. People don't like to buy into a falling knife, right? So ideally, 3.5 and 4.0 can help us increase variables that allow the token price to stabilize or go back up, which would then increase the demand inherently because people would want to get involved again. That's kind of the trick there. I don't have an exact timeline. I already mentioned a little bit ago in here that we would love to get that 3.5 out by the end of the week. That'll be to be confirmed by Josh. So hopefully that does happen, so we can start seeing that at least a little bit of change in direction and strategy from us. That's what I look forward to as well. But I know, you know, it is crazy right now. So like 100,000 Polar is $1,000. That's wild to me to think, because I remember way back in the day there was 100,000 Polar in a wallet. I remember telling you guys about it, and I was like, man, that's making me nervous because it was a lot. It was, you know, a lot of money. So it's hard, and I definitely understand that there is genuine concern with the price action, and that's part of why I had that conversation with Enor today. Try to get us more involved in the investment strategies, bring some more revenue into the system here so that we can start working some different methods to ideally encourage the token price to go up, or at least to stop kind of bleeding out a little bit. That's a challenge that we're dealing with, and it's a very real challenge. So hopefully that starts to get resolved the other way. I don't have an exact timeline for 3.5 or 4.0, but as soon as we do, we will get it out there for you.
All right. The next question is from J.R. Barris. If V3.5 and V4 do not accomplish the desired outcome, is the token relaunch the next step?
Yeah, so I'll kind of reference you to the conversation that Enor had earlier. I don't think that would be a primary, right? So you're saying there, would it be a secondary or tertiary sort of belief? Possibly, but I wouldn't say it's going to be the next step. Relaunching a token it's not challenging. It's not a lot of work, but it is a relatively a big deal, and it has worked in the space, right? So if you can at least show consumers that you are able to change something when you relaunch, that's more important, because if we relaunch and we have the same tokenomic variables, and we still roll into a slow bleed, then what does it do, right? So that's another issue there. I know he said he would consider it as kind of like nuclear options there. So once we get to that point, I'm sure we'll have a conversation and, kind of get to a next thinking of, hey, how is 3.5 doing? How is 4.0 doing? Did they meet what we were expecting them to do? Okay, what are the next steps? I think that's the most logical way to think about it. If we think, if we just walk into it believing that 3.5 and 4.0 won't change anything, then that's a problem. That means 3.5 and 4.0, maybe are not being developed correctly, right? So we have to make sure that we have the developmental side on that correct. We have to. It's kind of, it's a. I don't want to say hopium, but it's what's the word I'm looking for? A calculated strategy, right? That we expect 3.5 and 4.0 to have certain results, and if they don't have the certain results, then we can always adjust from there.
All right. Next question from Fender Bender. When is Enor's call with Josh? Candidly, the lottery is supposed to be automated and all indicators are. Josh has been running it manually, and it isn't a good look. For me, him automating the lottery was to be a proof of work, and if he's running it manually, then there's no proof of work hurting confidence about him completing 3.5 or V4 in the near future.
So I don't know when their call is, but I can say the contracts are 100% done for 3.5. So the contract side is good, and that's Josh's responsibility. We had that way back with which update was it? I don't remember which update it was, but Frey had the contracts 100% done, and we had to wait on the front end work to get caught up towards him. So Josh's side is done, it's tested, and they're good with that end. They're just making some tweaks on there, make sure everything is good on every front, and then they're ready to go bring it live. So the contracts are ready for it to go live. It's more so getting everything else around it ready. So in that case, I will say Josh has definitely done his job for 3.5. Now you could say it could have, should have, would have been done earlier, but hey, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to sit here and dwell on the past. We all wish it could have been done, back in May, right? Before things really started to go differently and sideways. So that's where we are now. Now the lottery thing, I don't know. Every conversation I've had with him, it's supposed to be automatic, and it's on a 48-hour counter, as far as I was aware. So if there is some issues with that counter, we've already kind of made him aware that you guys have those concerns about the lottery in general. So hopefully that could be resolved. I haven't personally, engaged and checked every 48 hours to see what it's doing, but I think it's designed to be 48 hours plus or minus a couple hours so that it gives a little bit of leeway to claim a winner, distribute the reward, and then declare the new one. So I think that's how it's been working. Maybe he has to set in the new one manually, and maybe that's causing a delay. But we'll try to clarify that for you.
All right, thank you. Next question from Marbriel. I'm sorry. Is it true that with the price of Polar as it is, it will cost double to buy a new node after the stablecoin takes effect?
No, I don't know what logical linear deduction that would come to, but no, if there's if it's the price of Polar, it's the price of Polar. You know what I mean? So we'll see kind of how it's exactly implemented. I wouldn't mind the node prices to go a little bit higher, but let's say today's strategy right now, where it's purchase in Polar, if that were just to be swapped for stables, it would be the same cost dollar for dollar. It would just be in stables instead of Polar. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I personally would like the price of the nodes to go up a bit, because they're very very cheap right now, very inexpensive. So that could be something to look into, but I haven't heard anything on that front just yet.
All right. You kind of answered the next question already. I'll still read it. Maybe you want to add something. It's a question from Kramer. Are you able to still purchase nodes in Polar after a 3.5 update or only in stablecoin?
So after the update there, it'll be all in stablecoin. That'll be that big change there, as far as the purchase mechanism is designed. And yeah, that might cause some issues where people are initially selling the Polar they get and then going and creating a node from there with stables. But that being said, it kind of feeds into the whole mechanism that's being developed. So it will be done in stable coins for 3.5.
All right. Last question so far. What exactly will we 3.5 do to affect price action positively?
Yeah, so a lot of that is, I mean, I don't want to say we're gonna have to see how it works, but generally speaking, there's a few different things going on with the 3.5, some of which I cannot quite release just yet, just waiting on the finalized details from ideally that call with Josh, and then I'll get it out there. But the best way, I'll just kind of put it this way, the best way to increase a token price is to do two things, the most basic economic variables, and that's to increase demand and or decrease supply. If you can have some combination of those, you are facilitating growth, from an economic standpoint, right? So that's the goal of 3.5, is to create a situation where there is not only a decreased supply but an increased demand for the token itself. And that hopefully, I mean, we'll kind of see how that goes. Emissions are a major issue right now. I think we're all very, very clear on that. So things like that could be addressed in the near future. But that being said, that's the general philosophy of it. We're going to change up basically how you interact with the nodes, and that'll set us up for the 4.0, which will then allow the node degradation kind of system to come into play. Then some people will let their nodes just, decay all the way down. And in a sense, that's a way that it'll, make those nodes no longer emitting, and it decreases emissions as well. So there will be quite a few things moving around with that.
All right, we got a few more questions just now coming up. Next question from Ronan the Dude. Will we need to claim before with 3.5?
So I don't know just yet. I don't believe so, but if you will, we will give notice to do so. So hopefully that information comes out here sooner rather than later, because we like to give, 2 days or so notice. But I don't know yet, and I haven't heard of yes or no on that answer just yet. So we will let you know if that does become a thing.
Perfect. Okay. Next question again from Marbril. Will a burn be included in with 3.5?
So a burn, not necessarily. So there isn't anything directly built in to facilitate a burn mechanism with 3.5. I don't believe, because I don't think the life potions are going to go into effect until 4.0. So with 3.5, we won't have that built into the system in and of itself. But that's what these investments are for. So doing something like this ego trading bot investment, and as the other things that we're vetting currently, we start working through all those, then we will be able to have some burn mechanisms built into the contract on a variety of different ways. But for now, we have that ego investment bot and some other things that we're working on there.
All right, next question is from Bob. What is the current size of the investment portfolio?
So off the top of my head, I don't know all the different places that we're invested in via other protocols from like the Polar Ventures side and all that. I do know that we put 50,000 into the Ego Trading Bot, which was our latest update. We very well might up that a decent amount here after this morning's conversation with Enor and I. I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying we're going to put in a wild amount, but I think we should put in a little bit more than 50K, let it work, let it do its thing. And that gives us some revenue coming in over time here. So I'm trying to think. So our AVAX validator did close out. So we got all that AVAX back, which was nice. It gives us some more room to invest. That's where a lot of these investment ideas are coming in now, is we have that AVAX. So, okay, now let's see what we can invest into from here. And that's what we're doing on this end as well. So that's I guess the basic answer is I don't quite know the entirety of that portfolio just yet. I think it would be great to zone into all the different like Polar Ventures investments and even this Ego Trading Bot. And I'll try to get with Enor and see if I can create like just like a simple graph and say, hey, or a table, who cares? Say, hey, this is what it was, this is what it is now. For the trading bot, this is what's accumulated this month. This is what we utilize for burns, for revenue, for blah blah blah. That way, people can see what we're doing. I would like to have that because I like the data, and it's also easy for me to reference when I get a question like this.
All right, next question is from WG. You just mentioned that emissions might be reduced if members allow their nodes to decay. I thought you guys had mentioned in the past that the nodes will not die completely as a result of not buying a potion.
Yeah, okay. So let me see. Okay, so WG, they can go down to 0%, but they will not disappear. That's the difference. So they're not going to go away entirely, but your node can go down to 0% emitting if you do not buy potions over time. So it won't die, so you can get it back. Obviously, you just have to get the potions for it, but it can go down to 0%, for which it's no longer emitting any polar.
Thank you. Next question from Lee Johns, which you already answered, but I'll still read it. Could we get a monthly update on all investments so we, the community, are better informed? Perhaps added to the official links.
Yeah, so fortunately, I just answered that while you were typing, Lee, but I can go into that more. So I think that's the best way to do it, and I would very much not mind doing that on my own. I just need to start getting the information pushed down to see how each investment is doing. Fortunately, with the ego trading bot, I get that personally because, like I said, I'm pretty tight with the team, so I know how the bot's doing pretty much at any time. So I actually have that data independently from Polar, so that's good as well. But then that being said, everything else that we've put money into, especially the Polar Venture side, I think that'd be good to have a document, even if it's just a running document that hey, we had this much and whatever, and this is even just a little summary under it for each month. I think that's the safest way and that's the most transparent way to go about it.
All right, next question is from. Sorry, okay, that wasn't a question. Next question is from Cosmic Renegade. If you notice at 75% decay, will the node emit 75% of the rewards? Does the percentage on node determine how much poly you receive?
Yeah, so if it is down, so let me just clarify that. So if you've only like reduced it, so instead of 100%, it's now down to 75%. So if it's down to that point, it would emit 0.75 times the totality of the emissions that could be minted. And I got your question in my head. Don't worry about it. I'll answer that here in a second. So that'll be how it goes. There is once it's down to 75%, you'll get 0.75 times what that total emissions rate for that node is, and then all the way down, 50%, 25%, 0%. So just multiply that by the totality of the node emissions, and then you will have an idea of what that node will actually be producing from there.
All right, I accidentally just skipped a question from Odin. I whispered what you said about the price of new nodes in stable with 3.5. Could you clarify again, please?
Yes, so they will be purchased in stable coins in 3.5. So that exact stable coin we're going to announce here in a little bit. I think it's USDC.E is what I think it is. But I'll clarify that and get that information hard out, ideally in a good announcement or even a Medium article or something of that sounds. But I'll try to get that information out to you guys as soon as possible.
Perfect. We have someone from the community requesting to speak.
Yeah, let me just follow up real quick. There's nothing different on the price right now, and that's we're just speculating. That was just me saying, hey, it'd be kind of interesting to increase the price of the nodes because they are so cheap. But that being said, there is nothing official there yet. That's just me kind of just talking. Sorry, is there still somebody requesting to speak? Yep. Where are you at? Where are you at? My Discord is a mess with this new update, so I have to literally find you.
So it would be.
I got him.
Yeah.
Hey, Universe, what's going on, man?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How's it going?
Oh, keeping busy, on the grind.
Yes, sir, man. So I just wanted to shout out everyone, and I just wanted to say I appreciate everyone that's still here. Um, I've actually been here since day one. I've actually mentioned that a few times in the chat. I don't know if a few of you here actually noticed me, but I've been a proud supporter of Polar since day one. Like legitimately, I bought in. I bought in at $6. So if everyone here is buying at like 10 cents, you're not in the loss. I actually just was tuning into the AMA, and I had a couple of ideas and I had a couple of questions. Like with the Treasury, are we actually allowed to implement the Treasury funds and like real life assets? Like, can we take them and make them liquid?
Yeah, so technically you could, and that's part of Polar declaring as a business is you do have access to the business assets. That being said, it's a little tricky, and I've talked about this to some other people in private. It's we're in DeFi, and maintaining these kind of rewards is very very tricky in the real world, right? So like, for example, real estate is not it. 15% APY, fantastic in the real world, not so fantastic in DeFi, right? So, but it does open up options. Did you have some things in mind that you were thinking about?
Um, well, that was actually one of them was the real estate. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering if we were to ever take it to the real estate aspect. I'm actually a huge fan of real estate, and I believe that if we could find a way to tie in like our legitimate business into like a real world asset, similar to what Red Finance is doing. I'm not a big supporter of them. I've just been hearing from their community like what they're trying to do. Um, so I mean, if we could find a way to like wrap that around, like even if we have to implement Bitcoin nodes or implement a way to wrap around like transaction fees or TXNs on the Avalanche like blockchain. I mean, any way, somehow, some way could be like wonderful. Um, and I mean, one of my other questions was like if I'm new to hearing the potions part of this, so if we start to implement potions like similar to like how other concepts attempted in the past, like I mean, there's no guarantee that this could succeed, but like, what could we do to reduce more, I guess, like sell-offs? 'Cause I know if we buy a potion and then we have to implement that potion in order for us to keep our polar going, but then like in the past, a lot of other projects have tried to implement a specific type of fee to keep our node alive, but it never really succeeded. So I wanted to know like, what could we do differently?
Yeah, so right now we just have to try something different because what we're doing isn't quite working, right? So this is a mechanism that the primary belief here is that we are trying to encourage people to put new money into the protocol. Maybe not a tremendous amount at any given time, but just little by little. And the reasoning behind that is like you mentioned, you've been here a long time. Way back in January when you know Dejan and I were in here trying to race to 100 nodes. I remember that day, those days back then, back on the standard one node protocol that we had. Now let's say him and I at that point we just got to our 100, and then we just compounded ever since, right? Compound, 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 and then we started taking profits whenever. It doesn't really matter. There's so much that we put in at one point. We could have taken so much out compared to what we put in over the time. That's what we're trying to kind of mitigate here is saying, hey, that's okay if you got in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, or even August. But if you've gotten to a point where you've actually, been able to receive a decent portion back from the protocol, if the node is to stay alive and continue producing, we're just trying to encourage people to put a little bit back into the protocol in and of itself. So I think that's kind of the general philosophy of it. It's not a maintenance fee in the sense of like I like Thor, so I can say their name, but how Thor does it, where if you don't pay your fee at that monthly time, then you just lose all your rewards and your node turns off. So we're not going to be like that. It's a slowly decaying model that you can update to the back full potential with the life potions.
Okay. Now, that is a concept I do believe in. Similar to Thor, at the same time, like I do believe in what they're doing it for. Like as far as like the game purposes. Now, like two quick things. One, are we still doing our game?
Yeah, so the Polaris side is still being developed here. It's going to take a little while as it's supposed to. We put out a couple teasers on it. I think I had them in where did I have them? Either in community announcement or the main announcement channel. We had a teaser of the game put up there, so that's still being developed, and we're working on getting a secondary Discord that can kind of function into where that game is going to be. The ecosystem is still together. There's just a lot of channels needed for both. So this is a way to kind of give them both some room to breathe. But we are building the game. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get there.
Okay. And then I guess like the last thing was more of like a suggestion. Um, so for example, so we need new investors, right? We need, it's not even an example, it's just straight up honesty. So we need new investors, we need new money. And then of course, like if we were just to break it down to like raw, natural, like just financial science, like, okay, we need new money, we need new investors. Okay, where does money come from? It comes from people. And then we have to ask ourselves, where does money come from, right? I'm not trying to give everybody here, whoever's high, a trip. No, I just studied, how a lot of other billionaires studied money. So where I'm coming from is like, if in a sense we're comparing, not comparing, but if we're competing against other node projects and in other, not other node projects, but just other projects, even in general, then okay, now that's just one small glimpse of it. And then, for example, we're one project on Avalanche, and Avalanche is one network of how many other networks. So it's like, okay, all those networks are technically competing against Bitcoin. So I'm not saying I don't believe in us. I'm just saying I believe in us, obviously. But where I'm coming from is how, like, I want to figure out a way to where we could generate money without necessarily saying, hey, we have to rely on a new investor. Where, like you were saying, our assets technically pay our investors, and then whoever wants to get a small percentage of the pie could honestly start buying in once we start earning that residual income. So, I guess where I was coming from is like the best part of it all. Would probably say like if we could use our treasury, our raw, our assets, our liquid, because if it's not in real estate, then we have to find some guys that are here in real life that actually have real life assets and just start brainstorming, and start putting together some ideas. Because I've seen people with no money turn, into millionaires in less than a year, and I've been around millionaire men before. So I believe that DeFi is the best way to become a multi-million dollar person. So if we could find a way to extract, like you say, if we're learning and we're leaning towards that currency model that like Bitcoin is, that's exactly what Bitcoin is. So if we're necessarily like a digital asset, then we have to implement that. And I feel like we should get some people here who are technical in that field and just start brainstorming and figuring out ways that we could use our name or our assets, and then everybody else around us to just push this thing one way or another. And I do believe it's very, very possible, especially in a bull market. I'm willing to sit down with whoever and chat up ideas if need be.
Yeah, that's definitely all a lot of good things to think about there. I don't foresee the Polar token being like a digital currency like Bitcoin is, right? So it's more of like some of the others where it's a reflection of the business and of itself. So Bitcoin really is that only cryptocurrency out there that is literally designed to be a currency, to be an exchangeable good from an economic standpoint, and that's probably is how it's going to be implemented. Now, I'm sure it'll have competitors over time, just like how we have, the USD to whatever, right? So there's all sorts of different currencies out there, but I feel like ours is more designed as a reflection of the actual project in and of itself. So the more value to the project, the more value to the token, and the more demand to the token, right? So that's how most of the crypto tokens work out there. And very simply, that's how all the blockchain tokens work. If there is more value to the blockchain, if it's a better blockchain, people want to invest in it, and it creates value to that token in and of itself. So a lot of those things that we're definitely considering are the investment strategies, just to bring in outside revenue to kind of expand that revenue model over time. And that was kind of what our conversation between Enor and I was this morning, was say, hey, let's look into these other things here. We probably brainstormed, I think it was probably 3 or 4 of them that we're going to vet a little bit more into, one of which I'm already a little bit turned off of. So you also have to be careful when you start doing these. Real estate is fantastic, but unless you have someone to go manage a property, it's not easy money by any means. And even beyond that, we are also in DeFi. We're giving out X percentage per day, and a fantastic real estate year, you're going to get 20-25% on your return, even on a flip, right? That's kind of what you're looking for, 20 to 40%. So that doesn't do it in DeFi, unfortunately. So with that being said, there's ways to implement a variety of risk and taking some risk variables into consideration. And I think that's some things that we need to look into. And I kind of joked about it a little bit ago, but hey, maybe this whole metaverse real estate thing is going to be like real estate in the DeFi industry in a few years. Who knows? But I'm really not banking on that for now.
Not right now. In the near future. But I wanted to kind of say, so what is possible? It could be a far shot with our protocol, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know that Elon is part of it, or just a lot of the brainiacs behind like real estate and crypto are basically. I'm just gonna shoot right in. So you know, I'm from Texas. I'm not there no more. But if you all know, if you're in real estate, if you're in the U.S., Texas is one of the best places to be as far as real estate and for multifamily. So with that being said, like if we were to get into real estate on that specific aspect, there are a lot of like tax benefits. And with that, as far as the crypto side, you could always get like solar panels. So what Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey are doing is like it's behind closed doors, but they've bought 100 acres in Texas, and they basically dropped solar panels, and they're going to be mining Dogecoin and Bitcoin, and basically those solar panels are written off for tax purposes. And as long as you're in the state of Texas and you have anything that's like eco-friendly, that's benefiting the state, like pecan trees, horses, orchids, you can look it up like in the jurisdiction side of things. Basically it's just cream of the crop. Like at that point, if we could find a way to implement real estate tied into crypto, if we're like not necessarily mining Bitcoin, because I feel like that side of that aspect is washed off, but more so like if we could find a way to just tie in our real estate to crypto. And then on the other aspect, as far as like the polar aspect of things, if we're going to be looking for like assets and stuff, could we start looking like at protocols on our blockchain, like not necessarily to partner up with, but just to kind of like congregate with and see how they're surviving? Like one of them that I'm looking into that I know you all know of is like Horde, but they're not on AVAX, but they've been all over like the scene recently because of their LP, like whatever they have, like their LP like providers, like it fluctuates at like a specific rate. I don't know, but I know a lot of other protocols have been like trying to look into what they've been doing to say at least sustain. But it was just an idea or like food for thought. Just if anyone here has any ideas cooking.
Yeah, we'll definitely take into just some different things in consideration and see what we can kind of pull up there. So I definitely appreciate the different perspective and the different outlook on a variety of things there. I'm personally in Texas, and my educational background is in economics, so I definitely appreciate the different kinds of investment strategies, and then we could see how they'll integrate into crypto and DeFi, especially as the times kind of move forward.
Okay, appreciate it, brother. I appreciate everyone for having the time to listen to me. I'm just here to support you guys.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming up here. I like having people come up and talk, to be honest. So hasn't been too often lately, so I definitely appreciate it.
Anytime. Y'all have a blessed one. I'll see everyone in the chat.
All right, get you soon, man. All right, here. So great question on that, Owen. Thank you for coming on up here. Again, if anyone wants to talk to simply request to speak or post their questions in AMA Questions Weekly, and we'll go over them all from there. I think we have just a couple more questions that have popped up here in the AMA Questions Weekly channel.
Yes, we do. We have two more questions, I think. First one from Cosmic Renegade again. Thank you for the answer. How can you keep it? How can you keep the node life bar at 100% with decay? Will there be boosts that allow them to stay at 100% for a bit more dollar or polar, like a shield? And when it wears off is when rewards start to decay. That would be a plus for extra.
So I don't know if there's going to be anything necessarily like that, but I assume that there will be some sort of system in play of those life potions where it can either be very easily used, or you can use it just a little bit early and it'll kind of boost into it so that it doesn't degrade from there. That would be the best way that I could think of just doing it, is almost creating like 125%. It doesn't give you 125% like 1.25 times reward, but it would prevent it from decreasing to 0.75. I don't know if that's necessarily how it is designed, because like I said, I'm still trying to get more information on this. 4.0 is still a little bit away as far as I'm aware. So that'll be something that we should address here sooner rather than later. I just don't fully know as of right now on how that's going to work.
All right, last question so far is from Tutor80. May have been covered, but what's the lottery outcome? How many tickets? How many tickets are purchased, and how many free tickets are there? What happened to the polar purchased?
All right, so let's see here. I know we have our lottery tab. I don't know the exact number of tickets purchased because there is a mechanism for free tickets as well. So I don't know specifically how many are purchased compared to the free ones. I bet if I go into the contract, I could find it, but it's pretty quite in depth, so I'm not going to be able to do that here on the AMA with you. But we do have the updated lottery on the lottery channel in our Discord, and it kind of goes into whoever the winner is. Let's see. Yeah, it just basically goes into the prize, the winner, and then what the fee was. So that's the best way just to look at what it's done. That Polar right now is directed back to the rewards pool. So anytime that there's Polar interacted with that contract, it is sent to help bolster the rewards pool, which is where we need it the most right now, to be perfectly fair.
All right, there was another question coming up right now from Cian Cial. I hope I pronounced it right. For now, pre 3.5, is it advantageous to use Polar to buy lucky boxes?
For now, pre 3 point, is it advantageous to use Polar? I mean, if you want a lucky box, then sure. So I guess what you're saying is like, do you want to pre-buy lucky boxes? If you want to, I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to. And then that would be a way to almost get like a node early on, but that's totally up to you and how you play that. I can't really advise on what to do with that specific question. But if you want a lucky box, then yeah, definitely get some lucky boxes.
All right, I think that was the last question. Actually, we have 2 people typing right now, so maybe let's wait for their messages.
All right, cool. Just making sure we didn't miss anything here. I think we did cover just about things. There are some people typing, so I'll give that just a little bit of time here to see if they answer anything. And then if they don't have any other official questions, we might bring this to a close. But Lee Johns is typing, so let me see what he has to say here before we decide to do that. That could be a great question, or it could just be a comment. We shall find out here very shortly, as I'm still filibustering to give him time to type. Don't think we missed anything in the general chat. I think we're all good on there.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. And new information you can share about the strategies that will implement on diluting the total supply. Okay, so yeah, simply, very, very simple. Emissions are too high. That's something I've been saying for quite some time. We need to reduce emissions. There's going to be a couple of different things implemented to reduce emissions, starting with 3.5. Next, we have to get rid of these tokens that are in supply. How do we do that? In my opinion, a very strategic buyback and burn strategy. There is some risk associated with this because if we do a buyback of $20,000, for example, let me just do some quick mathematics. That would, be is that right? 2 million Polar. Yeah, that's right. My brain kind of hurts looking at that number, but that would be 2 million Polar. If we just did a random 2 million Polar buy right now, you're dang right people would start selling, and it kind of impacts the liquidity. So it has to be done properly, but it has to be done consistently. And once the buybacks happen, there needs to be a buyback and immediate sent to a dead wallet so that it's out of circulating supply. It's something that I'm not entirely sure how the community is going to let it play out. But if they just were not to sell and let this strategy come into play, it would be good. That being said, I know people are going to sell. We can't ask them not to sell, right? So we're gonna see how it works from that end. Maybe I am the Fed. Who knows? So we'll kind of go into all those different aspects there. I think we can implement a strategy, but I think it could also prove to be difficult to see it become a quick strategy. I think we need to do it slowly and sustained over time.
Right, we got another few people typing right now. What about adding a staking mechanism to the nodes?
So there's a couple different ways to look at that. I actually like the idea of staking of the token, but staking of the nodes is interesting as well. But my theory is that if you stake the token, let's say we reduce the APR by a pretty substantial amount, but we say, hey, if you decide to stake your tokens, you can get an additional APR over here. That'll at least be an incentive for someone not to immediately claim and sell. Maybe they'll just claim and stake instead. So that isn't quite in the plans for the 3.5, I know, but that would be what I would start pushing for is staking of the token, which will help people say, hey, there's something else you can do with this token, and then maybe they won't sell it quite at the same rate. That's kind of my philosophy of that, and I think that could be an interesting strategy.
All right, we get another interesting idea in the Questions Weekly chat from Cosmic Renegade. What if new mountains were included that cost higher and give better rewards compared to current? One higher than Olympus or both? One higher than Olympus or both. Also, RI in 40 days would really boost sales and capping Everest. What are your thoughts?
So I definitely don't disagree with capping different tiers and nodes. There's a lot of emissions. That being said, I also don't really believe that adding in a node that would bring increased emissions is the proper strategy. And maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it would increase demand to a certain extent, and that would solve some issues. But I feel like it's still sort of kicking the can down the road. So that's something I've thought about quite in depth, and I think that's maybe something we could look at as we kind of move forward. But as of right now, they're not in current development. But I think once we're able to get revenue from other streams, I think the idea of capping nodes should definitely be back on the table.
All right. Yeah. I think this was actually the last question. It's the fifth time I'm saying this, I think. But we have no one left typing, so I'll just assume it was the last question.
Let me see here. I'm sorry, I don't know if you just read it or not, or if we've already. Okay, nope. I think we're good. So they're still typing out. We'll give them just a second here to answer, and then sounds like an Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, Steven, it's called monetary policy. It's called the Fisher equation. How about you go to school? Jeez. All right, questions coming. I got you, man. We'll filibuster here for a minute. So, some days I get really motivated and I start. These don't go to school. That's true. That's why we're here in DeFi. Sometimes I'll go into little economic things. I'd love to be a professor at some point in my life. I actually start up an MBA here in a little while just to try to increase my educational knowledge of the world. Yeah, that'd be fun. But we will see. Economic podcast. We could do an econ 101, econ 469, whatever you want to do. All right.
So another suggestion from Xian Cell. Okay. Create an UI where a representation of one's mountain can be decorated. Polar could be used to buy items to some more rare than others.
Yeah, so that would be interesting, but I don't believe that's in the development right now. And with, to be honest, let's see, it's taken time to get some of these things out already. I'd rather just get them live and then go from there. I don't really want more to be put on to the team making some things if it's taken some time to make them. If that's understandably fair, I think that's fair. I don't think that's me being too harsh.
Right. Another question just came up. If you're trying to raise funds for Polar, try say few. Might have heard of it. Price is really in a good buy spot right now because PancakeSwap is cashing out their tokens, bringing price into an entry level of about 5.24 USD.
All right. So just to make this very, very simple, we are not going to invest in Seifu. And I'm just going to kind of put it at there. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into that because I don't want to start a war, but we're not going to invest in Seifu.
All right. Short answer. Second question from the same person. Will potions be bought in USDT2 or AVAX?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the potions will be purchased in stablecoin. I think it'll be in USDC.E, maybe USDC.E or DAI. I'm not too sure just yet, but definitely it'll be in stablecoin.
All right. I think there's a third question coming up.
Just let them type that out there. Typing away, typing. A lot of good questions, though. I mean, I'm surprised that we're an hour in. I didn't really have a whole lot to distribute out, to be honest. So I was worried this was going to be like a 20 or 30 minute one. So I think I like that we're an hour in currently. That'll be good there. We will see what this question is that is coming on up. Don't worry, I won't close the AMA on you, so take your time. Don't worry about it. Easy day.
Actually, even though the Discord is seems to be less active in the last couple of weeks or months, I think we didn't have an AMA that went less than an hour for at least 4 weeks.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
we
good.
topped out at like 70 people on this one, I think, or maybe even a little bit more. So it's actually pretty decent.
Yes.
And overall, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Let's see here. Let's see.
Okay, another question. How can we increase the participation in both the AMA and in the chat?
Well, I mean, just start asking questions. That's kind of the best way to do it. Usually, after we get one person get up on stage, it creates an environment where more people jump up on there. But in all reality, it's going to take some changes from our end. People are going to want to be more engaged when the price action looks better and when things like that are moving forward. So that is when it'll be coming up. But yeah, the chat goes a little negative sometimes, and I totally understand that. But I say it every week. Let's just try to be more positive. Let's try to be more, and if you don't want to be positive, at least ask real questions. Just don't come in here and be negative with no purpose, because honestly, it's meaningless. It's purposeless. It's just nonsense. So it's your right to. If you're not going to directly FUD, I'm not going to time you out or anything. But that being said, does it really hurt that bad to either ask a real question or just be a little positive or not say anything at all? That's kind of the different things that I'd say there in reference to participation on that end.
Yeah, I mean, last week we had quite a lot participation after the teaser you put out during the AMA. So I think that's maybe something we can look into further. Okay, there was just a third question coming up from the person from before. Don't want to be the elephant in the room, but I have to address the elephant in the room and ask, what is a very good project? And I heard many positive news from Twitter and people. Thought, why did it take all this time to implement 3.5 and with 4 now? Why not sooner, considering that many in Discord made this idea suggestions about a month or more back? Sorry for being the elephant. I think it's a follow-up question. Is it possible that Polar Team gave up some time ago due to a massive crypto crash, but their spirits got revived and they are trying again to revive the project?
So I don't know why it took this long to get these things out there. I'm not a developer. We've kind of been working on it through quite some period of time, right? So I don't know the details of the progression or lack thereof at certain times there. But I do also agree that it should have been done a long time ago. And I'll even say way back in February, you can go check the what is that channel called? When we had the vote on there. Sorry, my brain is blanking. Snapshot. We have a Snapshot channel. Way back in February, we proposed different levels of emission rates, right? And one of which that I literally kind of got into a legit fight with the team about, to be perfectly honest, because I wanted lower emissions way back then while we were still riding our high. And they included that vote, but they also changed the highest tier to be super high APR. So it is what it is, but that still didn't win. That still wasn't the vote that took the cake, right? So yeah, many of us have been pushing for various things to attack the inflation issues that were going to come. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. And then once it gets too late, once the crash started, well, we need to get things live quicker. And they did not happen. So yeah, there's so many things that did occur or did not occur in the past that we can definitely, critique however you want. That's perfectly fine. I'm actually okay with that entirely because I've done the same directly to those who are creating and making those decisions, right? And that being said, it is what it is, right? So we're there, we're here now. We have to start making these things go live, and they need to be making a difference now. We are not going to just blow up the project and start over. We have $1 million+ treasury. Shout out to Narek. You should be checking your bank account here pretty soon, figuratively speaking, because there is going to be more information on that announced here that I just got during the AMA as well. So our investments are ticking up. We're trying to get ahead of these things now. Should we have been more proactive? Heck yeah, for sure. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we've done anything perfect, let alone everything perfect, because that's just not my personality. So that's kind of where I'm going into with all that is, hey, we should have been doing things quicker, but we didn't, and that's where we are. Yeah, if you want to DM about Seifu, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I'm not going to go into it on the AMA.
All right, next question is from Impello 2. How about setting some type of fantasy football tournament or weekly, like a fan duel, where there's a good buy for different people and winners get an Everest? 500 to 100 or to 1,000 buy weekly, you get 20 to 30 people. You can burn 15 to 30k polar per week. Could help emissions a bit. Also, when will the transcript be posted? I missed it being, and I think I heard discussions of potions and notes had to work.
Yeah, so it's definitely different ways to get people involved into various things. I don't know how many people, a lot of our investors seem to be European and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's some out there that would be interested in fantasy football. I personally am. I'm a big, U.S. sports fan, college football, NFL, obviously hockey because I'm from the Northeast, stuff like that up there. I can start looking into some of that stuff just to try to increase some engagement. But I think that's a kind of a micro thing, but it would be fun, and it's kind of a good way to interact outside of the Discord as well. So yeah, that's definitely something I could look into.
All right, next question is from Cosmic Renegade. On the lottery, will the prices be increased cost to price ratio is not appealing at the moment. Can that be looked at like 5 Everest instead of 2 or 1? The cost doesn't really really justify competing at the moment, in my humble opinion. It's been mentioned USDC lottery as well.
Yeah, so and previously when I talked about a potential USDC lottery, I don't know the capabilities of the lottery on the contractual side. I'm not sure what it's built in on the smart contract to interact with, if it's just with Polar tokens with the exchange in there, if it can accept other tokens as well. So if it can accept another contract, then that would be just as easy to do so, even if you were to purchase with it and then have it interact with a prize pool of a different token contract. I would think it can do that, but again, I personally don't know how the contract is written, if it is capable of doing those kind of things there. I do know that we will likely reduce the cost to get into the lotteries a little bit. That'll help offset it as well. I think having additional or higher tier rewards for the lotteries a pretty good idea in general.
Right, we got 2 people typing right now. 3 actually. A question from Emperor Zero. Is there any way to interact with the current DEP? I mean, like API or some other mechanism that lets users create utility.
As far as I know right now, there is not a current way to do that for people, unless you guys know some techie way to get into the system that I don't know. But as far as I know, there isn't. There will be that update with Unity. I don't know what that's going to allow others to do with that sense, but obviously we can't have everyone going in and changing our DApp like Wikipedia. That would be probably a bad day. So if you're talking like forking things, and maybe potentially so, but I don't think there's going to be a way for users to get in there and actually change things from the display side.
All right. Next question from Lee Jones is about what price does Polar need to hit before we throw a banger party in Miami?
Hey, Miami's another country, so we are in the. If you're in the United States and you've been to Miami Beach, South Beach, all that is another planet in and of itself. I actually enjoy it down there. Yeah, so we'll see if I can get over there. I'm just in the driest part of Texas, so I need a little vacation. Hey, if you guys want to know a personal story, last weekend I was supposed to go on vacation with the gal. Had it all scheduled to go up to New Jersey, go to the beaches, all that good stuff there. It was going to be a 4-day weekend, fantastic. On Wednesday, flights got delayed and canceled. Thursday, flights got delayed and canceled. So we ended up not going on the vacation because we would have had to go there Friday, land super late, and then come back on Sunday morning. It would have been very upsetting. So RIP to my vacation. But I have one planned to go to Germany in September, actually. So that's where I'll be in September.
That actually sounds like a great plan.
That's my next vacation.
Yeah. Actually, I heard from a lot of people that their flights got cancelled recently. Obviously, I live in Europe. I don't know if there's a correlation there, but it happens, and it really is bad.
Yeah, I haven't had a flight canceled on me since my military days when I was flying like all over the place. So that was kind of different to me. I'm like, wow, this is like I have not had a flight canceled on me in years. I've had delays by a little bit. That's kind of understandable, but what you got to do about it.
Okay. I'm just checking the chats for additional questions. Um, okay. It would be cool to have a meetup with the Polo fam. I think in real life, he or she is referring to a real life meetup.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, what month was this that I went over to Dallas? One of the Polar fam out there in Dallas works at a pretty nice restaurant in the downtown area, uptown, I guess technically. And I went out there to their restaurant, and had dinner with the gal and we took a photo at the end. So if we're in the area, I have no issues with meeting people. I don't really care. But that being said, if you are, let's see, there's some parts of even the United States that I'm not going to go travel to. So we'll have to find our paths in certain areas. But there's just places that I might not go. But hey, I see Narek is still in here. Maybe I got to fly out to the West Coast here, get some West Coast lifestyle in me. Maybe down to Miami. Chicago, it's beautiful outside of Chicago. I'll give it that. It's all right. So I'm from Pennsylvania, though. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, Miami's pretty cool. Germany. Maybe we'll all go to somewhere in Europe one day once this all recovers and we can move forward from this lull time and we can get back on a new high.
Okay. I just thought about maybe all the Europeans and the Americans could meet up halfway, but I think that would be in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yep, that'd be
So
directly in the
might
middle of
have
the
to boat.
Atlantic. So I guess if we went halfway the other direction, we'd probably be in Asia, I'd assume.
Right, I think we finally ran out of questions. I think I think there's a giveaway going on right now. Whoever can keep asking more questions for 3 hours.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to close out this AMA here, so sorry, lads. But we are an hour and 15 minutes in, and I think we answered most of the questions for this week. Hopefully we have some more information to give you guys here in reference to when 3.5 will be going out officially. As soon as we get that information, I'll definitely put out an announcement, or Enor will put out an announcement so that it can be read and examined by all. But until then, I just want to say, hey, thank you all again for joining us here on our weekly Polar Community AMA on this August 17th, 2022. We will be here again, same time, same place next week in our Discord, 8 p.m. UTC. So check us out then. We'll be in the chats all week. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. We're more than happy to